Hi everyone, Big Mac here. Welcome to World 2 of Let's Play Yoshi's Story. So in this episode, we're actually going to tackle Stage 2-4, the Torrential Maze. Again, you might have come from different stages. I'm not sure what stage from Level 1 you came from, but in Stage 2-4, the Torrential Maze, we're going to be exploring a very massive system where we're going to get lost a little bit. And in the meantime, we have a lot of things to try and figure out. So, a couple things that we can observe right away is that I don't see a whole lot of melons yet, do you? I don't see any melons yet. Of course, as the stages get more difficult as we go through higher levels, it's going to be more difficult to find, our lucky fruits and our melons. So, in this episode, I didn't make an attempt to get all 30 melons. Of course, whether or not that actually comes to fruition, well, okay, fruition was... Okay, that was just a bad pun on my part, I apologize. Like fruit, fruition, melons. Yeah, okay, anyway. So, there are definitely a lot of new mechanics that are being introduced in this level that we may not have seen in Stage 1 or in World 1. So, we have these little propeller things that kind of remind me of the bottom of Bowser's Koopa Copter. That's just me. But in the meantime, we can use these things, we can navigate left and back and forth, left and right. I like that little grunty noise that Yoshi makes as well. Reminds me of kind of the flutter kick noise as well. But like we mentioned already, there are plenty of places in this particular maze that we're going to have to investigate. A lot of little odds and ends, lots of one-ways, lots of dead ends, and things actually do loop around. So here we actually found Miss Warp, and in fact I was kind of surprised that I found Miss Warp number 1 first, because in stages like this you're not likely to find them in order, especially with these more roundabout situations. So stage 2-4, we are going to try and go, like I mentioned, to get all of the melons, but it's not going to be easy, and I'll admit something bad happens along the way. I'll give that as a little bit of a spoiler. Nothing too terrible, but we'll see what happens. So, as you guys can see, that there are plenty of different passages to go through. This one I don't believe actually leads to anything. This one was just a dead end. But another thing that, catches people's eyes, at this point is the background that's going on in this stage. I mean, it kind of looks like we're in some kind of a, underground sewer type system. And yet, it's like the back of the world is lined in newspaper, and there are various various headings involving different things. Like one says, like some say Nintendo, some say Yoshi, and then of course there are the ones that say Luigi, which I don't think there's any other reference to Luigi in this game. Besides these, the fact that it's named in the background of these newspaper wall. So again, I don't know how that got there, or why Yoshi's Island has a printing press, but that's beside the point of this level. So we do have a lot of new mechanics that we're being introduced to. So we had the propellers already. We have the little ghost platforms that appear and disappear. So one thing we are going to have to start paying attention to is not only what can we see, but what can we hear. As you guys can probably hear, there's a faint hint of a wind chime somewhere nearby, so that tells us that one of our Super Happy Hearts is really close. And it might actually be up on that ledge, but first we have to get up there. One issue with the ghost ledges is you can't go through them, and they can kind of block your way sometimes too, so it can be a bit of a hindrance, but nothing that you can't do without, it'll just work out in time. So of course there was a block up there. We'll figure out how to get to there in just a minute. Let's see here. Unfortunately, I think at this point right here, I was trying to investigate what's going on around here, and I went back into the room where we just came from. That was very professional. But in the meantime, like I mentioned, yeah, we will revisit that block up there. So we already saw the mechanic where we actually had to push 2 blocks together in order for them to bear fruit. In fact, if we had just stomped on them like usual, or like we often did in level 1, we would not be able to get anything out of them. Nothing would pop out. At this point, Yoshi does have we're on our invincible mode right now for Yoshi, so this is pretty awesome. There are a couple of hard to get melons, especially right here at this point in the game. You see, they're just floating down gently and slowly. So it is very possible that you could miss them on your way up, and then they're kind of just stuck on the bottom, and it's not really a good thing. Oh, and there's also another, melon that you could get by trying to climb the ghost pillars, or trying to climb the ghost ledges. You could try climbing up that way. I just found it easier to fall down and then climb back up from the platforms. From the moving platforms that stay around. So here we found Miss Worm number 3, and again, like I mentioned, I was kind of surprised that I almost found them in order, you know. But in this situation, okay, here's another block that, well, again, we got the idea that we want to push 2 blocks together, but there was only 1 block there. So how are we going to remedy this situation? So up here on this ledge, there actually is another block that we can push around, but weren't they too far apart? That's where the switch comes in. That little switch actually makes that little cloud ledge appear, and because we know that we've seen these clouds before, that they are very dense or something, that we can actually just walk across with our block in tow. So, of course, part of the issue is that just with my capture card frame rate, the animation of Yoshi pushing does not look as fluent as it normally should. It just kind of looks a little funny to me. But anyway, we've collected 2 more melons for us, so we are definitely on a good track. But unfortunately, yeah, that just happened. When Yoshi dies, he gets captured and taken to Bowser's castle. And essentially, you lose a life. So, another thing you'll notice right now is there's actually 2 Yoshis missing. I tried to continue the game with the green Yoshi, and the green Yoshi also fell in the pit within about 15 seconds time. So, not my greatest moment ever. So I just cut that part out. That way it wouldn't get in the way of anything. Because it was just like, alright, Yoshi, go! And then Yoshi dies. And it's like, no! But like I've mentioned before, there are other ways to die. One is falling down these cliffs. Another one is losing all of your health and then getting hit by anything, really. So, in this situation now, we have seen that there are these weird blobs on those vines up there. Unfortunately, one of them hit Yoshi, and now Yoshi has pretty much no health. Another clue that you can pay attention to observe that, in fact, something else is going on here. Listen to the music. Also, depending on how many times you play through this game, there might be something up there in that corner. So even though there was nothing up there for me during my playthrough right now, there might be something up there for you. If you do happen to find something up there, you have to keep it until you get to the end of the level. And then it'll actually be something really cool and worthwhile. But in the meantime, just keep track of that, you know, so especially if you do find something really awesome and it starts following along behind you, then just make sure that you keep with it and that nothing happens to you during the level, otherwise you'll lose that as well. In this situation, yeah, apparently if you push boxes into mysterious ooze, they sprout melons, of course. But, you know, this room is actually starting to lead us back around to the beginning of the stage, or the very beginning of the stage. That way your top is just the same place where we were before. You may have seen some peppers pop up occasionally. Of course, Yoshi's like eating the fruits. However, the pepper is an exception. While it does not count as one of the 30 fruits that you eat over the course of the level, actually, you know, since these peppers are supposed to be, you know, hot or spicy, the Yoshis don't like it, and the Yoshis can actually lose health by eating these peppers. There are exceptions, of course, like when Yoshi's invincible because he's eaten, or he has that little happy heart, you know, that came around and helped him out. But, and there are a couple of other exceptions as well, but for the most part, just try to avoid those peppers. So here we found 2 more blocks. Hey, there we go. This is in fact that mysterious block that we saw earlier before we made that, before we were going into those other junctions. So we just had to push 2 again together, and voila, we received another pair of melons. So at this point, I think we've got 15. We're just at about 15 now, so maybe 16. However, you know, we've gone through most of the stage already. There's not a whole lot of stage left, and we've only collected half of the melons. So what's going on here? Anyway, likewise, up in this corner, here was a little white shy guy for me. And again, depending on what you've done through the game, you may or may not find that particular shy guy there. Again, you would have to keep it until the end of the level to see what's going on here. That little bumper that I just hatched a little while ago, I'd actually recommend that you move, like you try and shove it over into the corner where you can make that little jump a little bit easier. So that way you can maybe not have to worry about timing your flutter kick as much. Fortunately, we've found a number of melons along our way already. We've now got, we found that the hidden box with the 5 coins. We were lucky in getting those. I've had runs where I am not able to get all 5 of those coins in one go, so I miss out on that particular melon. However, on this case, we got lucky. There's this red goo where it, instead of like having to stomp on it for it to go down, you actually have like to stand on it and it'll slowly start sinking. Of course, what we saw back there was actually Miss Warp number 4, and that pipe right next to Miss Warp number 4 is actually the pipe that takes us back to Miss Warp number 1. So it's pretty much whether you take the pipe or if you just jump on Miss Warp, the same thing's gonna happen. Likewise, here Poochie was trying to show us that there was something special happening at this particular spot besides the coins. So this tulip type thing is actually kind of like the flower that we've seen before, but unlike eating it and having the access to refill our health, this one actually enables Yoshi to get into a projectile mode where he can then aim his eggshell and then start flying in a particular direction. We'll see that in a couple other levels ahead in the future as well. However, in this very last room, you guys can see that there are going to be a lot of melons popping up, and indeed, all we need are 5 more. Are all 5 of them in this room? I don't know, but let's find out. But also, in this room is our next secret code letter. And again, it's the letter O. So, fortunately, the fireworks also help explode some of these other melons. But, if we look at what we have left, we only need to eat 1 more fruit, and there it is! 30 melons! And indeed, when you get a perfect melon run, that little symbol will pop up in the back of the screen as well. So again, I'm gonna somewhat try and get most of the melons for every stage. We'll see how well that goes for me. Again, sometimes I just might not be able to, or I just might forget one. And again, that's partially for you guys to figure out as well. You know, explore the stages yourselves. Again, the score I'm not too worried about because people are taking different routes. To avoid a dark, scary cave, the Yoshis entered a nearby tunnel. Inside, they found a maze that overflowed with rushing water. Perhaps they should have just gone through the cave instead. The page turned, and the Yoshis grew happier. So I will see you guys in the next part. We will tackle level 3. So feel free to pick your stage, whichever one you want to pick right now. In this situation, I just wanted to show off what is going to happen if you have that shy guy that you found in a previous level. So, remember we found that shy guy that was just tagging us or following behind us. So in fact, it shows up here in the Yoshi Select screen. And indeed, finding this shy guy actually acts as a 1-up. He will go and retrieve one of the Yoshis that you have lost in Bowser's Castle. It's pretty cool, actually. Alright, see you guys. Big Mac saying, later.